What if the defender looks strong, but one move makes the whole position collapse? Today, I've got 6 real game positions where undermining decides the game. Let's start with position 1. Position 1, it's white to play, and here Johann Carlos played queen takes h5. What's the reason? At first, this looks like white is just taking a knight, but the real point is deeper. White is undermining black's kingside defenders. If black accepted the queen and played pawn takes queen, then the real stock comes. Rook takes d7 check, king h8, rook to d7 discover check. After king g8, he can simply win the queen, and now white is completely winning. So that is why this queen cannot be accepted on h5. So that is why in this position, black tried rook to f7, and he's saying queen is hanging and the rook is hanging. But white showed that he has calculated it properly, and he continued the game with rook takes f7, and now black plays he takes h5, and now the fun starts. Rook takes d7 check, king to f8, rook takes h7, and black resigned. White did not just win material. White removed the defenders one by one. First the knight on h5, then the rook on f7, then the defenders around the king. And here black resigned because he is having nothing to continue the game. So for example, if black continue the game with queen a6, white can simply play bishop f3, just activating his last piece, and now he will remaneuver the bishop, and black king is definitely not safe. This came from Johann Carlos versus Tomi from Bermuda 2002. This is the pattern we are studying today. Attack the base of the defense, not just the defended piece. Hello everyone, I'm Aniket, an Arena International Master, and this is Chess Tactics episode 19. Today's pattern is undermining. Undermining means attacking or removing the piece, pawn, or square that supports the opponent's position. You're not always attacking the final target directly. Sometimes you just destroy what protects it. Let's understand it better with a simple example. So here we got this position where black is the one who's putting lots of pressure to white. So for example, if white moves the queen onto a wrong square, it will be simple checkmate on b2. And black is the one who got one extra pawn. But still, white is completely winning. And in this position, white sacrificed his queen and played queen takes f6. And the point is very simple. When black will simply capture the queen, now the fun starts. Rook takes h7 check, king to g8, rook h8 check, king g7, rook h7 checkmate with the help of knight. Game over. White simply sacrificed the queen and undermined black's king safety. And as soon as he removed the knight from the board, black's king is not safe anymore. If you enjoy practical chess tactics, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's test the same idea in 5 more real game positions. Position 2, it's white to play. Find the move that removes black's queenside support. Pause the video here. This came from Vladimir Kramnik versus Veselin Topalov, Linares 2004. In this position, Kramnik has a rook against knight and pawn. So ideally, the game should be draw, but Kramnik found a move which gave him a winning position. And he played bishop takes b5, simply sacrificing the bishop, and the whole point is the pawn he captured was defending the knight. And now he has undermined the knight. Topalov continued the game with rook takes b5, and now he simply captured the knight on a4. He simply got rook versus bishop, and he has two connected pass pawn on the queen side, which is completely winning for him. The key idea is not just winning one piece. White first removes the support, then collects the target. That is undermining. Now, let's go to the next one. Position 3, it's white to play. Here, the tactic works because black's king position depend on too many overload defenders. This came from Fischer versus Pal Benko from US Championship 1963. And here, Fischer played rook to f6. This is a brilliant rook lift. At first, it looks like white is putting the rook into danger. But the real idea is to break black's kingside defense. And here, the point is very simple. This rook cannot be captured. Because if he tried to capture the rook with bishop takes f6, he lost immediately after e5. There's a checkmate coming on h7. And believe me, there is no way to stop it. Yes, he can try playing knight e4, but it just does nothing. So that is why Pal Benko did not take the rook on f6, and he tried a different thing like king to g8, but that cannot save Pal Benko from Fischer. Fischer continued the game with e5. This is the undermining move. White attacks the defender, and open lines at the same time. Black's pieces are not ready to handle the pressure. And now the knight is attacked, so he has to move the knight. But he cannot move the knight. The reason the checkmate is being threatened on h7. So Benko has to play pawn to h6, and now again he did not capture the knight. Because if you think, let's capture the knight and win the game, yes, you might be still winning, but that's not the best one. And he played knight to e2. His rook is just sitting there from three moves. And now he had a chance to capture this knight even with a rook. And here, Pal Benko resigned the game. Practical lesson here is very simple. When the king is weak, undermining can be stronger than direct checking. Fischer does not rush. He first brings the rook in, then breaks the defensive structure, and now he's slowly and surely moving the knight into the game. If you're serious about improving and want structured training instead of random puzzles, I work with students personally. The link to train with me is in description. Now, let's continue. Position 4. This one is easy to miss because White's queen is under attack. But Tal ignores it completely. This came from Mikhail Tal versus Hans from Varna Olympiad 1962. And here, Tal's queen is hanging, and don't forget, his knight and bishop is also hanging. But Tal does not care, and he played e takes f6, simply hanging all of his pieces and creating his own threat. So black captures the white queen, and now f takes d7, attacking the rook. White is not playing for material. White is destroying the dark square defense around black's king. Then after rook g8, and now comes the undermining move, which is bishop to f5. This is a key undermining idea. White attacks the queen on e6 and breaks black's coordination. Black's pieces are tied to the king, the rook, and weak dark squares. And here, the bishop cannot be captured because of knight d6 wins the queen, which is a simple fork. So that is why black simply gave up a queen and he played knight takes h4, and Tal continued the game with bishop takes e6. White has won the queen. This is classic Tal. He does not care that his queen is attacked. He sees the black's defensive structure is collapsing, and they play the game for 25 more moves, but eventually Tal won the game. And just so you know, if you like this position, I have deeply analyzed this game on this channel. I will put the link into the card. Now, let's go to the next one. Position 5, it's black to play. Find the first move that destroys white's defensive coordination. Pause the video here. This came from Georg Rotlewi versus Akiba Rubinstein, Lord's 1907. And in this position, queen was hanging. And he did not care about the queen. And he played rook takes c3. And now his queen is hanging and his rook is hanging. And white accepts his queen and played g takes h4. And now it looks like black is completely losing. The reason the knight is hanging, the rook is hanging, and he has already lost a queen. But unfortunately, black is completely winning. And the reason Rubinstein played rook to d2, he has sacrificed his queen, and now two pieces were hanging, and he sacrificed one more. And that is the undermining move. What's the point? He is undermining queen. Queen was defending the bishop on e4, and now he has put the rook on d2, and there is no way for white to defend the bishop. So he has to capture the rook, and he played queen takes d2, and now the fun starts. Bishop takes e4 check. Now the point is very clear. White's queen has been pulled away. The king's protection has been undermined, and the diagonal has opened. So after queen g2, again, do not blunder the whole game and try to capture the queen. Because if you capture the queen here, black is actually losing in this position. So in this position, Rubinstein played rook to h3. White is completely lost. This is one of the most famous attacking finishes in the chess history. And the point is very simple. If white takes, then it is simple checkmate on 1 on rook takes h2, thanks to the bishop protecting g1. If you like this position, I have covered this whole game onto my channel already. I'll add the card so that you can watch it. The lesson is simple. Rubinstein did not sacrifice randomly. He removed the defenders in order. First the queenside support, then the queen's defensive role, then the king's final protection. That is undermining at the highest level. Now, let's go to the last position. Final position, it's white to play. This is the hardest one in the episode because white undermines black's defense in stages, not with one obvious tactic. This came from Mikhail Botvinnik versus Capablanca from 1938. If we analyze the position, Capablanca is the one who is having extra pawn. But unfortunately, Botvinnik's pawn on e6 very strong. And here he continued the game with bishop to a3. White offers the bishop and black cannot say no to it. If he try and play queen d8, he lost the game after e7. So after bishop a3, he has to accept and he played queen takes a3 and now you might be thinking, okay, let's push the pawn and win the game. But unfortunately, if you play e7, that move lost the game for white. The point is, there's a king f7. Now he has unpinned this knight and knight is protecting f8. This position is completely winning for black. So that is why after queen takes a3, Botvinnik has to sacrifice one more piece. And he played knight to h5. He has sacrificed the bishop and then he sacrificed the knight. And again, this knight is pinned, so black has to capture this knight with pawn. So Capablanca played g takes h5. White sacrifices, undermining the pawn shield and open access to the black king. And now white continues the game with queen g5 check, king f8, queen takes f6 check, he collected one piece, king g8, pawn to e7. Idea is very simple. e8 coming with the queen and that would be checkmate. So now white gave few checks. Queen c1 check, king f2, queen c2 check, king g3, queen d3 check, king h4, queen e4 check, king takes h5, queen to e2 check, king h4, queen to e4 check, g4, queen to e1 check, king h5. And believe me or not, there are no more checks. Black can give to the white, and that is why in this position, black resigned the game. This is the perfect example of undermining because white does not win by one direct blow. He first drags the queen away, then removes the pawn defender, then activates a passed pawn. And even after that, he has to survive few checks and make sure the king is having no more checks and he eventually won the game. Every move removes one layer of black's defense. So that's undermining. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for more practical chess tactics and comment which one was the hardest and tell me what move you found before I revealed it. I will see you in the next one.